Welcome back to another episode of This Old Backhoe. Things are going great. You guys talked me into it. It is Monday when I'm filming this, which means the video is up and live, so we're getting real-time suggestions. And since I don't have the time to get this to the hydraulic shop until Thursday, well, we've got time to play with it a little bit. Not to mention, I have every seal possible to replace in this here orbital valve steering motor. What's it gonna hurt to dig a little deeper? I mean, she's already absolutely. If you are new to what's going on, let me throw this in the vise, do a little bench test, and we'll get you up to speed real quick. So this is a orbital hydraulic valve steering motor for that Ford 555 backhoe. We were having a leak right here in this seal. There's a seal inside, and you're going to see in a second because we're going to take this back apart. We got that all replaced, but now we've got a slight issue. This thing just turns itself, which means something is wrong, and I can show you. If I blow air right here into the pressure port like this, nothing should happen. We should get stuff come out the return. It should be able to hold itself in a neutral position. However, what we're getting, let me get you down here. Whenever we throw that air in that pressure port, we just start spinning. And that's not good. You know, it's not what we want. We're not putting this thing in a NASCAR race. We need straight lines. The number one most common comment we're getting so far for today's video is that we've got the ports hooked up wrong. Well, let me show you why that comment is incorrect. First thing I did was go through and label all the ports and make sure I understood everything based on this diagram and this diagram, and not only the diagrams in the book, but everything is also very well labeled on the casting. It even says in right there, right, left, and out for return. It is very clearly labeled, and not only that, but the lines on the machine are hard lines. These, right here, they're all hard lines. You would have to put a tremendous amount of effort to somehow get these hard lines hooked up incorrectly. So that part we have 100% correct. We've got the pressure going in the right port, and we're getting those connections hooked up right. So there's no issue there. Another comment I get, and this is one of the things I actually checked, and I do 100% agree with, is that somewhere is that it is out of time. And we checked that on the previous video. Let me buzz this off here so you can take a gander at what everybody's saying. I also want to point out, as I take this out, a few people said that we forgot to put the washer in. The washer's there. The washer is in fact there. It's right there. But the oil, it holds it on there. It just stays stuck on there. So even though you didn't see it sitting in the commutator down here, it's 100% on the cap. So we're good on that as well. But good eye. I appreciate you looking out. And we know now that that washer sits in this. This is the correct orientation for that commutator. Right here, this is the seal we replaced. Fits right inside that sleeve. Commutator ring. This slot goes down per the manual. We got that. Commutator itself. Just so you know, if you do break that and replace it, you have to replace it as a set. My assumption is they are surfaced together so that the tolerance between the thickness of this and the ring we just took off is identical. So you do have to replace it as a set, and it's $272 if you do that. This is what they refer to as the manifold. Fluid comes down through these slots, comes out through these slots. When it comes out of here, it goes into these, and it does something. That's where we're confused. That's what we don't know what happens from that point. Inside here, we've got these little vanes. You'll see those little vanes are in and out, and there are little springs in there as well. So one of the things that people talk about are these being out of time. And what they're referring to is how this is oriented with the drive link. This is the drive link. How the drive link connects to the pin. There's a torsion bar inside. We're going to mess with this, what we think is the timing here at first. If that doesn't work, we're going to dig down into it and completely disassemble this thing because there's something else going on deeper. But here's where the torsion bar is at. There's a little pin there. That pin attaches to the back side of that drive link. And people are saying to adjust the timing, we adjust what they call the metering element in relation to how that drive link is. And the word on the forums is that you got a 50-50 shot. Now we've tried 4 times, so no, I don't think that's the problem, because if it's a 50-50 shot, well, that math's not adding up. But what we're going to do is make an adjustment, and we're going to try that a few times and see what happens. We're going to adjust this, and we'll also try a few where we adjust on the teeth itself for the drive link, since we don't actually know what the heck we're doing and we're just playing around, experimenting. Rumor has it you can just rotate that, and boom, we're timed correctly. It's the word on the street anyway. Let's just try this a few times and see if at one point it actually works. And if it does, great. You know, we've done something. We're not going to try to understand it anymore. Make sure your tip's clean before you shove her in there. You don't want to fill it up with a bunch of nasty stuff. Nope. She's still trying to win the 500. So what I had been doing is just rotating this. Ends up with the same orientation every time, even when I rotate it. So I don't think that's what people mean. Perhaps they mean rotating this tooth on the metering element, rotating that a tooth on the drive link, just up and over one. The other thing I'm noticing, these vanes, spring action, a couple of these aren't as springy as the other ones. And it's almost like this can't equalize itself, like oil's pushing one way when it shouldn't be. So another experiment we're going to do is if one tooth over doesn't work, we're going to take all the vanes and springs out and see what it does then. See what that does. A fellow would like to think he could just order the springs and vanes, but something tells me you got to order the whole metering element, and that's probably like $17,000. As we pick this up, we don't want any of these to fall into those bolt holes. That is what we would call a not great day. But we do I try to pick it up with the spacer plate so that everything is held together. We will rotate one tooth on the drive link. Well, now, this is a completely different orientation than what it was. Just cranking hard over. So, I'm eliminating that as an option. Let's remove all the springs and the vanes, and let's see how it reacts to that. So I removed all the vanes and springs from in here. We're going to reassemble it. This is just an experiment. I just want to see what it does. So although it's probably good to have perfect vanes and springs, it seems to be doing the same thing. We're going deeper. All right, you guys ready for an adventure? We're going to follow the instructions on the manual. We're getting deep. We've been this deep before, but it was an accident, and somehow it got put back together and it worked fine. So, last thing it says to take out before we flip it over and remove everything from the other side is this, the drive link. It's sitting on a torsion bar in there on a pin. We should just be able to gently pull it up. By the way, they do strongly recommend you don't vise it on the collar like that, because you'll bend it, but you know. Here we go. Yeah, we can't even get it to turn straight. We're worried about a leak? Come on. Come on. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that's got to come out of there. 5/16 12 point. Well, maybe. All right, let's see what it says in the manual for how we're supposed to pull this off. Because if I remember, there's a certain technique. Grasp the input shaft and with a smooth upward motion remove the input shaft, upper cover, and spool. So the shaft, the cover, and the spool attached to it should all come out. It wants us to go straight up. No sideways, because it doesn't want us to gnar anything up. Is gnar still a word? People using that yet? I don't know. Okay. And there's something. What the heck just happened? What was that? What? Well, let's see what's next. Remove and discard seal, figure 14. Gonna guess they mean this one. Check. Remove upper cover with the shaft seal, package items 37 through 40 intact, remove the spacer. So the upper cover with the shaft seal, all that's gonna get pulled off. Just going nice and easy, not forcing anything. And that should come off all the way. And it does. So this shim down inside there. Set it with the spacer. These are all the seals we replaced last time. That's what was leaking on us last time. So here's a close-up of the spool. This is where the steering shaft attaches at the machine. We've got several shims. little spring, it looks like, of some sort. This is the end that the drive link attaches to, like that. And that's what we were working on earlier. That's that pin that attaches to the commutator. And this is the section that attaches to that metering element. Just so we're all kind of following along. Pictures are a must. Figure 19, steering motor input shaft, hammer punch, spool pin, input shaft. So right there. So I took a block of wood, I drilled a hole in it, right there. That way, perfectly support that shaft all the way. If we do something like this, even if we bend it, I mean, just the craziest amount, this whole thing's shot, right? So if we do it like that, it's supported very evenly. We can take the punch and we can run that out in a safe way. And there's the hole the pin was in. Somehow we caught the ball. I didn't show you on the other camera, but there's a little ball in here. Don't lose that fella. It's held in by this spring, but once the inner workings are out, it's just sitting there. So it could easily come out on its own. Do not remove the ball retainer spring unless replacement is required. Got that? Don't remove the ball retainer spring. So what I honestly thought is we were going to find like the smallest piece from the first commutator ring we broke that somehow worked its way down in here and was blocking something. That's what I felt we were going to find. And I don't see any chunks or debris of anything, but just to make sure I'm looking at everything clear, we'll back these out. They're all the same. Yes. I'm going to run some cleaner through and see if I don't see anything flushed out, because there's all these grooves in here that match up with the grooves on this spool. These are all O-ring boss. O-ring boss. See the O-ring right there? So I don't know how well you can see down in there, but you can see how each port goes to a different level. So we've taken this thing as apart as we can, or however that saying should go. I don't see anything obvious. I thought I'd find some chunks from that commutator that broke in here, maybe blocking something. Everything seems open. I don't see any crazy wild gouges. The only thing I could possibly think of, maybe this is worn down enough it's allowing something to bypass that shouldn't. However, it wasn't doing this before we changed the seal. So I have a hard time believing that all of a sudden out of the blue, after we changed the seal, this is bypassing. It's certainly possible, but fluid's going somewhere it shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's pretty obvious. The only thing that I can think of timing-wise is that perhaps, now knowing how this works, well, I understand further how this works. So this is the shaft for the steering wheel. So this, in relative to our main block here, stays the same. This does not move up and down. But with this little helical machine mark in there, that steel ball that rides inside of the spool, when you turn the wheel, this acts like a screw, right? Which causes this spool to move up and down inside of here. This is fixed in its position. This slides up and down inside. And that changes where the fluid goes, left or right. So perhaps on the timing, I just have this in the wrong position. I'm changing the metering element when I was trying to adjust the timing. Ran out of SD card, got cut off. I wasn't adjusting the spool up and down. I was moving the metering element around the drive link. But perhaps if I would have adjusted the drive link, which would in turn turn the torsion bar, which would then rotate that, which would then adjust this spool up and down. By moving the metering element, I don't think I was adjusting this up and down inside the steering valve. Perhaps that's what I'm missing. What I need to find, I suppose, is the neutral position for this inside here. So watch right here. This is what we were showing earlier. This is what I'm saying I made no adjustment to when trying to adjust timing. See how that goes in and out? Whenever I turn the wheel back here. So if we're turning to the left, we keep turning to the left and it's got those valves opened, right? Then we turn back to the right. That spool slides, now fluid's going the other way. So that's probably neutral. That's probably right. That's probably left. Either way, that's what we're going to play with this time around, trying to get it timed. After all, it's the only thing we haven't adjusted. I do feel a little bit better about the understanding of what's going on. I will also say, it sounded a little crunchy earlier. It sounds a lot smoother now. So I think cleaning that up probably did get some debris out. I'm going to go back and look at the footage real quick and see where that was, elevated or recessed, whenever we took this apart. I want to see that. I'm looking back at the footage on the old fancy camera over here. It is recessed. What do you say we reassemble it flushed, and let's see what happens. I'm going to be really disappointed if this doesn't work, because I really feel like I'm onto something now. We're up a little, but let's just see if it makes a difference, okay? And then we got the metering element part of it. We'll put this in, and then I want to go ahead and put this other component on with the metering element. The whole thing is the metering element, and then this is the rotor, and this is the stator, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but. And now that that's there, we can slide the vanes and springs back in. And the manifold these down, these slots up. Commutator ring, slot down. Commutator on, and the slotted part with the little machined part for the washer. Again, for all the people that say the washer wasn't there, it's right there. It just, the oil has it stuck to the cap. I like to feel it drag on the metal and then drop into the hole. That way I know for sure. I think we got it, fellas. I don't know, that was turn the lights off. I don't have a clapper in here. I think we got it. I think we got it. It's not spinning, and there's air coming out of the return line. I'll be dipped. Come on down here. Come on down yonder. Oh, he's excited. He's saying weird things. Here's the return. Oh, look at her. Unbelievable. He's done it again. Before we install this, I just got an email. My phone's got to be over there to get signal. There it is. From a fella named Derek, who sent me the actual manual for the actual pump. Instead of the Ford manual, which has, you know, some specifics, he sent me the actual manual, which should have way more specifics and probably better detail and better pictures. So Derek, I definitely appreciate that. I'm going to print that out, add it to the binder. Now I got it for the future. So thank you for that, man. I do appreciate it. Well, let's go right. She goes right and she stays. Let's go left. Let's go straight. Look, no hands. Holy smokes. And we're dry underneath. Oh my goodness. Oh, fella can't help but to smile. We're not done though. We got more work to do to this thing. Things I like to do to make it a little nicer for me. I need to double check that my theory is correct on this, but you see the way this wheel dishes out? What I'd like to do, I'm gonna put a straight edge on, and then we'll kind of measure the depth here compared to the other side, just to double check. But I think if I flop these around, that'll give me a little bit wider footprint. Not a lot, just a couple inches, but a couple more inches out certainly isn't gonna hurt my feelings, make it a little bit more stable for me in the woods. So right now, from the hub, the tire's sticking out 7 3/4. Here, we are almost 10 inches. So there's about a 3-inch difference. So if we flip this around, these tires will stick out. Those tires will stick out about 3 more inches overall, which gives me, you know, you're good at math, 6 inches wider footprint, which should help quite a bit. The only downfall to doing that is where the valve stem's at. Yeah, well, whatever. Rolling over versus awkward valve stem. Yeah, that's our choice here. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to have to pick it up from its side. Yeah, there we go. As long as we can just keep it rolling, should be okay. Oh dear. Yep. Oh gosh, no. Okay, oh, easy, 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 easy. She's not having it. Come on, there she goes. All right. Now this is when I have the guy in the tractor carefully lower this to the exact height, you know. That's what we're gonna do. So I don't have a guy in the tractor. Look at that. Yeah, I need you to get all the way up there though. There it is. Well, let's at least get a studs or a nut started here. We can go from there. Enough to get some nuts started. So what did we say, 7.5 at the beginning? We get a better measurement on it now. But yeah, 10. So 2.5 inches, 5 inches overall wider footprint. May not seem like a lot, but every inch is gonna help there. So definitely excited about that. That's good. You can even tell just by looking at it. Certainly got a little bit wider stance now. Next thing I need to do, there's a T fitting right there. So the power comes down, tees into this cylinder, and then runs over to the other one. I can't tell if it's the fitting that goes into the cylinder that's stripped or the T itself that's stripped, but something's wrong with it. It drips pretty decent. It's just kind of the way it goes. Once you get all the other hydraulic leaks buttoned up, that pressure is going to find another spot that's weak, and that is it. So we got to try to get that cleaned up. So here's the fitting that was leaking. You can see it's got a pretty good bend to it. It's just JIC on each end. And then this O-ring style boss fitting is what went into the cylinder. I don't know if there's a crack in that bend or just because of the bend it wasn't sealing right on the O-ring or what, but either way that is our issue. So the next thing I want to try to get figured out, I would love this winter to have a little bit of warm air blowing out of us. Now, ooh, out of here, on us is kind of what I meant. There's a switch up in there I put in there a while back and we couldn't get it working. Let's see if we can problem solve that. We're all right. All right. So last time we tested the blower and it worked. We've got a new switch here and we, for some reason, couldn't get it to work. And I can't remember what the reasoning was, but. Windshield wiper works. I thought I was getting attacked by some sort of banshee. So these three go to the fan speed, the red, orange, yellow. And then I've got these wires. I can't quite reach the ground with the probe, but I can hold it and then run my finger and I get voltage. So that should be the power coming in. Oh God. Okay, so currently it's turned on. Yeah, so I think it works fine. I don't know what my issue was last time. Now the other disaster that could strike with this whole thing is pretty obvious. gonna be that whenever we go to turn the coolant loop on for this, you know, it just goes everywhere and there's a big leak. So that's certainly a possibility. Oh, nice. Medium, high. Oh, no high. But medium. It would appear that medium's high and whatever. So that's kind of cool. Microphone died, so we're on the audio of the camera again. As long as those lines don't blow that are in there or leak coolant, we should actually have some heat this winter blowing on us. That'll be handy. The 304 is back over there. Can y'all see it? Right there. Farmer Chris bought it back yesterday. So you guys have noticed it in the videos more. I didn't buy it outright, but we are in a rent-to-own agreement right now. I just looked at the numbers, the amount of money I've been spending on rents and the amount of projects we have with the 304 coming up. It just made sense. If we're gonna put money towards it, might as well put it to ownership. And we are still renting it out to people like Farmer Chris and Not Your Average Millennial and Man Behind the Scenes if they need it. And then of course Dirt Perfect, so that'll kind of help pay for it too. It's a huge expense. It's the biggest expense I've ever expended, including all of my driving vehicles. So I'm a little nervous about it, but hopefully it'll work out okay. That being said, we're done with the bucket and thumb on this, and we're taking that stuff off to get a little bit of weight off the back end of this thing. We're still gonna keep it configured like a backhoe, right? But we're gonna be using it for more of a loader, forklift type of scenario than we are digging. The Mini's gonna take over that job, and then this is gonna be pretty much a dedicated loader. Getting the weight off the back will balance this thing out just a little bit. I would love to take this stick off altogether and then find some wheel weights, because that would be a better weight situation for this. But until I find wheel weights, I want to have enough weight on the end that I still have good traction. So we'll just see how that plays out. All that being said, since that's back, because I want to use that to break the bead, we're going to try to get this tire off of here and patch the leak that's there. We've got her plugged, right? But it's more of a line than a hole. And obviously the plugs aren't doing their job. A patch is like $7, you know what I mean? I don't really want to spend the money on tires if I don't have to. We'll have to eventually, but if we can just prolong the inevitable a little bit longer, I can buy something else with that money. Like, let's just, we gotta break both of them, so let's just flop here first. My number one concern with doing this, you can see how dry rot this thing is we crack or rip the tire. There we go. I know we could just put a tube in it too, but still, that patch is cheaper than a tube. And even though it's cracked as much as it is, the only thing that leaks is that plug. All right, all those years of CrossFit prepared me for this. Yep. Okay. If only I had a machine that could have flipped it for me handy, you know what I mean? Something with like a boom and a bucket and I don't know, a thumb maybe. Pretty happy about that. Honestly, so we just gotta get one bead off, right? And then slide the tire over on the rim enough that we can access that place to clean it up and patch it. And if I leave it lay on the ground, then I have to lift the weight of the whole tire whenever I break that bead. I mean, I'm half convinced to just put it back on the machine, and then the machine holds the weight of everything and we're just sliding stuff around. I feel like that might be the better option. Soapy water is, and forever will be, the best, most affordable lubricant to work with tires. You can spend all the money you want on fancy tire lubricants. There we go. Come here. Would you get up there? There we go. Just slide it over like that. If I can get that to sit on the block for me, then she'll stay right there. Maybe. There we go. You can see the mess of plugs coming through right there. We're going to get all that mess pulled out. There's 1, 2. We had a pretty good collection going here. 3. Is that it? No. No, that's not it. 4. See, we got her scuffed up and cleaned up. She looks good. And then, as silly as it sounds, with it not running, I'll take it and then just kind of scuff it, because it's cleaned it up, but it also smoothed it just a little bit. I mean, it's rougher than it was, but we still need to get it scuffed a little bit better. Set of ice grips on the rim helps hold that bead on a little bit. That way we can work our way around a little better without it sliding off behind us. There we go. There we go. That's not bad. Work it around, shoulder, pop it out, slide a bite, work it around, shoulder. That's not too bad. It's getting ready to not be fun, but right now it's not too bad. Oh, where are you going? There she is. There she is. So she's on there pretty good, honestly. And I think if a fella had a big enough compressor, he'd push it right on for us. We wouldn't have an issue. I talked to Mike. He said I can grab the Thunder Creek trailer sometime. It's got that big gas-powered compressor on there. Run it up here, throw it on there. I think it'll push the bead on. We're not really going anywhere until we get that fitting in from Essex anyway. Not too big of a hurry. And the fuse for the manifold starter is supposed to be in this week too, so we can get that knocked out. I tell you what, here by the end of the week, we're going to have us a nice machine. Heat in the cab, heat in the intake manifold, air in the tires, potentially. We don't know yet, but potentially. Steering, I mean, all the things. We're going to have them all. Still not a floor, but we're working on it.